Welcome to the Tied Together podcast, where we feature everyday people doing extraordinary things. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share so others can join in on the conversation too. When your father's an electrician and you attain your bachelor's degree in mass media arts, you wouldn't think the next step would be to own your own farm. Wayne Swanson went back to his roots and did just that. From growing up and frequenting his grandparents' farm and having a genuine passion for the craft, he turned this love into a profitable business. Wayne runs a 30-acre farm with the help of his son and sells large quantities of meat to chefs, restaurants, and individuals. He has been awarded the Men in Agriculture Award and gives back to his community in the form of providing food to individuals that live in food deserts. Please welcome the owner of Swanson Family Farms, Wayne Swanson.
Good afternoon, Keisha. How you doing?
I am doing well. How are you?
Hot. But other than that, I'm just fine.
I know. You just finished loaded up a truck, right?
Yeah, we loaded some cows. We're taking them to the butcher. Every 2 weeks, we take beef to the butcher. And this butcher is a 3-hour drive, 2.5-hour drive. So
oh, wow.
We loaded up, ready to go. So as soon as we get done, we jump in the car, and I'm going to go.
So you drive them to the butcher yourself?
So it depends on which farm I'm picking up from. These actually came from my farm. So they're going, we loaded them, we'll take them, and I'm picking up meat that's there that we took 2 weeks ago.
Okay, awesome. So I've heard you quote a number of times, find a need, fill it, specialize in it. Can you expand on that for me?
Yeah, well, it's America, and people pay for services. So if people have a need, they will pay you for those services. I kind of lucked into the grass-fed, urban farm, high-end meat market. It's a niche. I'm more of a boutique than I am a store. We are perfectly fine with that because boutique fits perfectly with what we do in terms of how we treat our animals, how we raise our animals, and the end product is just phenomenal. But it's a higher end product. So yeah, we found that niche by accident and filled it, and have been doing so since I left my corporate job in 2015.
Right. So how did you figure that farming was the need that needed to be filled?
Food, just food. My grandparents raised 21 kids. So we did hogs every year. My family in Virginia had farms, and everybody I knew that was on that side of the family had a garden or hunted. So the quality of the food totally was just different. So once I got old enough to have a yard, I kept wanting a bigger yard. And that's when I said, when I lucked into an opportunity to have a bigger yard. And that's really what the 30 acres was. It was just a big backyard. Yeah, and so that's how we landed there. Then it started.
So when you got the 30 acres, was it on your mind to have a farm that you would profit from, or was it just a big backyard?
At the time, it was a dream. I was like, man, one day, because in my mind, I'm thinking farmers are old. Mm-hmm. And here I am, I don't know, I'm 47, so I'm 35, something like that then. And I was saying, yeah, I had big dogs, so I want a big yard for the dogs. I had chickens, so I wanted a good, nice chicken coop. And I always wanted a cow. And just sort of the stuff I wanted to do was recreate my grandparents' farm because of the experiences that I had. Mm-hmm. So my dad comes down from New Jersey, and he's like, man, we ought to just go get a cow. We literally hopped on Craigslist, found some cows, went down 1941 on Craigslist, bought the cows, bought a trailer because we didn't have a trailer, bought the trailer on the way. Matter of fact, I'm using that trailer now. And came back, dropped them off, and I'm a bit of a nerd in like science, so I want to learn everything. So I have been studying about grass and what to feed them. So for the first month, I know my neighbors thought I was crazy. Every day after work or early in the morning, I just walked behind the cows wherever they would go, watching what they would eat. Oh. And then I grab some of them and take it to the extension agent and be like, what's this? The cows love it. And they tell me, what's a weed? I said, well, they love it. is it bad? Is it nutritious? And then you go to the schools of thought where you learn out that there are no such thing as weeds to herbivores. It's edible or not edible.
Right.
So, once I learned that, I started planting the weeds. We graze a salad bowl. We don't graze grass here. So we do a little bit of everything. And our product, the end product, is a result of us being phenomenal grass farmers.
That's dope. That's dope. So you mentioned that you bought the 30 acres with having a dream. You really didn't set out to having this business that you have now. You just had a dream, bought a cow with your dad. But I want to talk to you about changing dreams, or switching dreams rather. So you were selling insurance for a while before you realized that farming was what you wanted to do.
Claims manager.
Claims manager. So before you realized that,
go ahead. Claims manager.
So yeah, before you realized that you wanted to do farming, you were a claims manager, and I'm sure you had dreams and goals for that position in life. Tell me a little bit about what those goals were and how it felt to put those down and then go towards something else.
So those goals were like most people in corporate. I wanted to be a 2 VP, and I wanted to move up the ladder. Was prepared to move anywhere in the country that I would have to go. I knew I could do it in Atlanta, in Georgia, because most of our insurance companies are headquarters in Alpharetta. And for whatever reason, I kept getting stepped over, and another couple of managers that I was that were my peers kept getting stepped over. We couldn't understand it, and we had learned after our boss got sick that she was holding everybody back because we were making her job easy. So, yeah, it's a whole that's a whole nother podcast, that whole situation. So at this point, I have a hobby that's paying me almost what I make in corporate.
Okay.
And that's the farm business. So it's a hobby. So I just was like, you know what? I can feed myself, and the mortgage ain't gonna go into arrears. I don't need this job. And I decided I'm gonna, jump out. Not on faith, I jumped out with a spreadsheet. My wife is in finance, so she wasn't gonna go with I got a message from the Lord. No, she was like, I need to see the numbers. Write it, make it plain. And then I did that. And before I did that, I left the leadership role and went into a individual contributor role, but the opportunity was in my neighborhood. So I was already an expert in that role, so I could do it with one eye closed.
Right.
The benefit for me was I was working from home, which is the farm, and I could do the job in 3 days where it took other people 5.
That makes sense.
So I built myself. Yeah. So I didn't, like, if you worked on my team as a manager, if you called me on a Friday, it had to be a nuclear issue because we all were autonomous. We worked from home. So I would tell my crew, I said, look, if you're smart, you should be working 7 to 7 Monday through Thursday, and you're directing traffic on Friday. You shouldn't really have to work if you don't, unless there's an emergency or you should have a backup plan. You should have somebody in place. And one of my best employees, she would send me pictures like once a month on Friday. And all she would do was send me the front of the airplane cushion, because once a month she was going on a trip on Friday. And she was like, I'm gone. Not okay. As long as your backup can cover you. So I could eat, I was making money, and I could feel a groundswell. So I did go out on a little bit of faith. And there's a whole nother, yes, I went broke and all this. And I think that happens to most people when they do something like that. But I literally was down to like $300,000 in the account. And now we don't have that problem anymore. But
okay. And I do want to ask you about that, but how long were you balancing the farm and your full-time job at the same time?
I gave myself a year.
Okay.
1 year.
What's that work ethic like, though? Because the farm life is hard, and you have a child, and you're married, and a full-time job. What's that balance like?
So if you come from a family like mine, that's just the way everybody operates. So my wife knew what she was getting into at 16, 17 when we started dating. So everybody on my father's side has a job, a business, and a hustle. And they all pitch in with each other until they're ready. And then those businesses become careers, or they become entrepreneurial. So, but also in the interim of doing all this, I was a hobby dog trainer. I was breeding dogs. My other hobbies were herpetology. I had reptiles and lizards and snakes. Plus, I'm active in community, so I'm that dad at school who was at every PTA, every meeting at school. I'm the one speaking, and my son's usually like, "Dad, please don't say anything." So that, if me not working would have been odd to my wife.
Gotcha.
So what insurance taught me were systems, and how to build systems to get the most productivity out of your time.
Okay.
So I put that into play on the farm. So instead of me going out every day doing this backbreaking work that we think farmers are supposed to do, I set up the systems that allow the animals to do that work and feed themselves in doing that work. And we do what we call cross fencing. So there's fences all around you, different paddocks. The paddock is an area where an animal eats for a day or two. So at the height of our operation, we probably had 30 different paddocks. And my original cows knew the routine. And one day I realized they knew the routine. I started doing what I did with dogs. So you get a new dog, you would just sit your dog on a leash, the new dog on a leash, and you train your old dog and go run your old dog through the motions, and the new dog picks up on it. And you'll notice your new dog sit at sit, lay at lay. So I did that with the cows and the sheep and the pigs. And a couple of days later, everybody had the routine. They knew when I was going to open the gate. They knew when I was going to make the dog move them. They knew when we were just hanging out. And it became, I don't want to say easy, it became routine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So much so that if you weren't outside by 7 o'clock, the goats would hop the fence and come to the door.
Oh.
Or the dog. I posted a video yesterday on Facebook of my dogs doing that. My dogs at about 7 o'clock, I hadn't come outside, and they were at the front door, hitting the door and barking. But that's what happened, and we got routines, and that allowed me to really focus on, okay, well, they're not wanting to stay in this paddock very long. They're mooing and complaining what's going on down here, or it didn't have the grass they want, or it didn't have shade. Mm-hmm. So we had to make those improvements, adjust the fences to make sure there's always woods. And then over a period of years, I went from taking, this is a true story, it took me 2 years to load one cow. I started getting these wild cows. It took me 2 years to get one of them in the trailer. We now can do that in about 10 minutes.
Wow.
Same methodology, same wild cow. We just are experienced enough to read the body language of the animal, to read the conditions of the animal, to know what his drives are. Like the 2 cows we loaded today, we know they were extremely food driven. Mm-hmm. So all we had to do is make sure they had a bucket, not chase them. We don't yell at them. We don't chase them. We don't hit them. We'll add pressure the way God intended prey species to get pressure from the back. A lion, a tiger, whatever is going to attack them from the back when they think. So that's how we apply pressure to get our cows to move. And we did it in 10, 15 minutes, but it still didn't. The trailer hitch broke and it fell, but we got everything fixed up and ready to go. But there's always something.
Yeah, I'm sure. How important do you think it is to have routines to reach any level of success?
You won't have success without a routine. Routine builds muscle memory. The routine is your practice. Those 10,000 hours you got to put in, that's that routine every morning. You get up at 6:45. I count steps. I'm terrible about it. My wife hates it. I say, babe, you got me wasting steps. I'll go to the cabinet and get something. I'll get halfway through and she's like, oh, grab me this. You got me wasting steps. I could have had that already. So yeah, routine is uber important, particularly in livestock or people management. Mm. If you're a people leader, routine is crucial. Your people need to know those reports that you need are going to be ready for them at a certain time every week or month or whatever. You have to hit it. When it's time to do reviews, you can't be saying, oh, I'm a little bit late here. Fill out what you want. No, you're the leader. You have to have everything ready and to them, not on time, ahead of time, so that they can take their time and you can still hand your stuff in when it's required. So yeah, that is uber important.
Yeah. Did you always have that? Did you always have your routines in place? Is that something you had to grow into?
Yeah, I grew into it.
Mm.
My dad and uncles were military. So I grew up in a household where we didn't sleep past 7 o'clock. And we didn't, it was weird to me seeing people stay in their pajamas all day on Saturday. As a kid, you go out to the neighborhood and go watch cartoons at Johnny's house, and they still got on pajamas. No, we got up and you had to get dressed. Then you could eat cereal and sit down and watch cartoons, but you did a chore. And but yeah, we didn't do that. So I don't sleep late now. I never had.
Yeah.
5 o'clock, my eyes are up and I'm open before I started farming.
Mm-hmm. How hard was that adjustment though for you to get from not being so regimented to being who you are today?
It wasn't. College was a big eye opener for me.
Mm-hmm.
Being a high school athlete and having people always say, "Hey, make sure you get this done," and then you get to college. And I think I barely got all C's my first semester. When I say barely, I mean barely. And you had to just establish routines. But beyond the routines, it's the circle.
Mm.
So God blessed me with 4 guys who were already where I wanted to be as friends. So I'm watching them study. I'm watching them because I was a smart kid, but I was never pushed to be an A student.
Mm.
You know, all we talked about was, are you eligible? Did you get whatever you need on the SAT to go to college?
Mm.
So now I'm with these guys who are about excellence, but still had a good time. And I needed that push. So the circle was very important because if I hung out with guys like me, I don't know what I would have learned or anything. So I reached up for friends. I wanted friends that were going to push me. And I still do that. If I'm looking for a mentor, I'm looking for somebody that's going to push me. I don't care if they're a little rough. If you have something I need, I will take that verbal abuse or whatever it is you want to call it. Because once I show them that I'm worthy of their time, all that stuff stops.
Right.
And they just start pouring into you.
Yep. So speaking about push, you did bring up that you went broke. You had $300 in your bank account. What stopped you from quitting and just going back to work?
It worked before, and I knew that it would work. Some of that is a little bit where you kind of go crazy a little bit with your idea, where you hear people talk about, well, I was in the garage or I did this. So I kind of went crazy for a little while because I knew it was such a rewarding, not only rewarding financially, but rewarding spiritually profession. Mm-hmm. And, you know, in that, we spent some money on marriage counseling. We just have to be, if we're going to be honest about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
If you don't have a marriage counselor, you probably are not an entrepreneur. You're probably still hustling because their entrepreneurship goes up and down. There are very few plateaus. You just learn how to maneuver to make it look like you're riding that wave straight across. But there's always ups and downs. And as you get mature, you kind of learn. But no, I went slap broke, doing all the wrong things. So I was very successful in my previous career and was getting a very nice check every 2 weeks. And without realizing it, your spending habits are atrocious when you are getting a check every 2 weeks. Even the most thrifty of us that get a $4,000 or $5,000 check every couple of weeks, you spend money stupidly on dumb stuff. Like, you know, I don't think I'll ever have another high-end vehicle. The last couple of vehicles I bought off Craigslist. And yeah, I mean, I totaled the truck, and this is coming out of a lot of things happened that blessed me in that period of brokenness. One, I'm an insurance guy who's left insurance, but I'm a claims manager. I got hit by a commercial vehicle in my driveway. In my Harley Davidson pickup truck. So when I look back at it, God was like, all right, I got you. You know what? You're a little hard-headed, so I need to ring your bell. But at the end of me ringing your bell, because you already have this skill set, if you can't make a way out of this, you don't need to be an entrepreneur. I'm giving you everything. I let you get hit by a high-end furniture company. They're gonna have to pay you.
Yep.
Your wife's in the car. Nobody's hurt, but you know what you're doing, so everybody's gonna get paid. Your tuition for your kids' private school is up, and I'm gonna make sure that if the payment for the truck was $57 more than a year at my son's private school tuition.
Wow.
So that really, I took that, I settled that claim, took that money, paid for his private school tuition. So now we're not putting that money out every month. So now I go to my sock drawer, I think it was like $1,100 in the sock drawer, get on Craigslist, buy this old truck, start working a claim. Remember that my line brother, I'm an alpha, my line brother is an attorney. So I call him and was like, hey, Fred, look, here's what I need. I can't pay you right now. I'm gonna come back and get you on retainer later. I need you to file suit here. We're not gonna I can't play with these people and go through a 6-month rigmarole. I'm broke. File suit for me so that they can come to the negotiating table hard and fast. So he filed suit. They didn't want it to go to suit. I think the company was their Atlanta headquarters was Clayton County. And I just flat out told him, I said, look, you don't want to go to court with a black farmer who's active in the community in Clayton County. It was like, so y'all should settle with me. Here's my number. And they paid me. And that allowed us to get back, have money in the account. And then I have a really good friend of mine who is an investor. And at that point now, I'm like, okay, I don't want to spend all my money. Let me take an investor.
Right.
And the investor came on. And I think 6 months after that, we opened a restaurant. 6 months after that, the farm business kicked back off again phenomenally well. My son, we were doing so well that a college called me because of the agricultural pursuits. And we're like, we want your son to go to school here.
Wow.
And here's what we'll do for him. We'll give him a job. We'll train him here. We'll do this. And we'll put you on our board. And from that point, we haven't looked back.
That's dope. Just to touch on that a little bit more, did you ever have a moment when things were going downhill in the business where you stopped and thought to yourself, maybe this isn't it?
Yes, a couple of times. And it wasn't. So I had the marketplace, ain't gonna lie to you. You have to be comfortable enough with yourself to listen to the marketplace. So when I came out, I wanted to sell everybody a T-bone steak. The marketplace didn't want that. So the people who wanted to buy from me at that point were chefs who wanted what they call primal cuts. But I had went and got all these cows cut wrong because I want to do what I want to do. And I had a business plan saying that this is what I'll do, but it wasn't working. So I just listened to the market and did it. Then the market shifted. And then it shifted again. And then I had to go on what we call the Chitlin circuit, where I had to go all around South Georgia to all these different farmers market because nobody knew who I was.
Okay.
So I needed to have a name. And in this business, a marketing plan is great, but being known as an expert or a professional's professional is worth its weight in gold. So my investor, who is it's my best friend actually, but he's very, very, very business savvy. One of them guys, you hear these stories about people who come out of college making 6 figures. He was one of them guys, doing internships and co-ops and just working. So he sat me down and was like, look, man, if you want to do this, let's do it. And here are the things that I'm seeing from a leadership perspective that you're not doing. And because I've been on calls with you on leadership, why aren't you leading you the way you led other people? And I had to hold myself accountable and stop making excuses and woe is me. And once I did that, and once you have the right people, like nobody is an island.
Nope.
Nobody. And if you don't have mentors, and if you don't have people that can pull you to the side and say, hey, Keisha, I don't think that's going to work because I have experience in this. It didn't work. Now, you go ahead and do it if you want to. But I'm just telling you, that may not work. And I had those people, and I listened to them. I didn't listen to them at first because I thought I was the smartest man in the village. And I went broke.
Yeah. I think that's dope. I think that's dope information for anybody in any field. Of course, if somebody's looking to get into farming, they can just directly relate that. But I think that's dope information for anybody in any field, to know that you're not an island, to reach out to people. And it seems like, you have to reset at some point. You keep doing it wrong and hitting the wall. You have to just stop and just reel back a little bit, or maybe a lot, and redirect yourself. Were you selling? So initially you wanted to sell direct to consumer. That was your thought, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And so now you're selling to restaurants, chefs, and things like that. You have to tailor it for what the community wanted, not what Wayne wanted. And that makes sense.
Well, so there's a story there.
Yeah.
So I had the restaurants. And I was going to sell to, but I needed to be a boutique restaurant, a mom and pop restaurant, that they could see the value of buying a whole carcass versus buying, just give me a box of oxtails. Excuse me. So once I got those people on, I used my clients and my neighborhood contacts to say, hey, look, if you say Keisha shows up to Swanson Family Farm to buy 3 T-bones and a ribeye, I'm going to ask Keisha, where do you eat out at? And you're going to tell me. I said, where do you eat locally? You tell me. I said, all right, look, I'm going to give you 10 pounds of ground beef. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to go to that restaurant. I need you to eat there, but I need you to ask them to put Swanson Family Farm on their menu, just a burger. And I had enough people going to this restaurant asking that the restaurant put me on. And then they had to put me on their menu. So I marketed the hell out of that. I had one restaurant.
Yeah.
And I made it seem like we were bigger than life. And that caused other chefs and schools to buy me. Then the market shifted again because now these individuals are seeing you on the menu. Now they want a steak. So now the original plan comes back into motion while we still have our wholesale plan. So now we have everything going at one time. And I stopped doing farmers markets because of that. And it just allowed us to scale. And at that point, I realized it was bigger than I could handle. So God sent me a guy named Patrick Muhammad, who was like, hey, man, I want to mentor with you. I want to learn how to do a farm. I said, okay, here's what I'll do this with you. You had to mentor with me for, I think it was 6 months to a year. But we got to use these cows. And then I get to buy cows from you, or we get to go into it half-season. He said, okay. And I think 6 years later, his farm is called Your Faith Farm. If I'm not mistaken, if I have to look at the spreadsheet, but one of those cows is actually his. But we don't separate the behind-the-scenes work, right? Nobody needs to know how the sausage is made. You just need to know you're getting a grass-fed cow if you buy it from Your Faith Farms or if you buy it from Swanson Family Farm. But people know that I am the coach in this situation.
Yeah.
Patrick is phenomenal in his own right, but he's never afraid or shied away from telling everybody his teachings came from Swanson Family Farm. So that's what we do. That's how we bring other farms on. That's how we're able to make it look like we're a mom and pop, which makes people feel more comfortable with us. And we're not huge by any means, but we're not a hobby farm anymore.
Gotcha. A lot of my guests talk about the importance of mentorship and, just having somebody that they can turn to. I know a lot of people struggle with even finding a mentor. They don't know where to look. They don't know how to ask. What would you say to people that just don't have those positive influences in their circle in the field that they're interested in?
So if they're like me, they need to humble themselves. And I mean that in the jokey way and in all sense of all. So your mentor may not be at the level of success you are in your current field, but he may be very successful in the field that he's in. And we tend to look at things from a monetary or a things perspective. where most farmers don't buy and spend money on things. So you'll come here, I've got a 96 F-150 in the driveway. My son's got a 2008 G8. But if we wanted to go to the dealership and buy a brand new truck right now, we could walk to the dealership or walk up and stroke a check or transfer money and buy a truck. Mm-hmm. Where a lot of people, when I pull up, they're like, oh, you don't have a new truck? But what, I need a new truck? This one works just fine. So I had to do that myself. I'm looking and saying, he don't even have a new head gate. But the old head gate works well. Why would he spend $5,000 for a head gate? So once I figured that out, I started seeking out the people who had been doing it for 20, 30 years with the same equipment, because that meant that they were smart enough to take care of their equipment. They learned how to do that so they can teach me how to repair stuff. Mm-hmm. And they were smart enough to maintain it, not just repair it, but keep it working well for 20 or 30 years. That's just another expense they don't have. Where you find some farmers where they're always you need a new tractor because they done burnt the bushes out. Mm. They need a new trailer, because like my trailer, I probably should get a new one because the hitch keeps falling. The roundup roll-up keeps breaking. But I welded it back and was like, okay, it's good. So I'll probably buy one. But, but once you find a mentor in your field doing what you do, and that is not flossy, mm-hmm. that character flaws and character fits are important. So I used to be flossy, and I can't even explain why. I was interested in shining and all that and having shiny stuff. Now I want the best money can buy. Mm-hmm. So I want quality, and I look for those attributes in my mentors and in my mentees. Mm-hmm. Because I have a lot of mentees. I do a lot of farm. I do a lot of farm mentoring and farm consulting.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you say that, and I'm thinking back on my own life. I was in the car industry for 8 years. And when I got in the industry, I was mentored by a manager, and he really helped me out a lot. But one thing that didn't sit well with me was his car. You know, when I was first in, I'm expecting him to have this nice car. I worked at a Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler, Ram dealership. So we had Hellcats, we had all sorts of vehicles, Vipers, anything. And he was driving... Right. The year was 2011, and he was driving like a 09 Maxima. And I'm like, why? Why are you driving this 09 Maxima? This guy was like in his 60s. He's made money on top of money. He has a house in New York. He's what you call a snowbird. House in New York, house in Florida. And he only worked 6 months out of the year because he could afford it.
Yep.
But he drove a 09 Maxima. And I just could not wrap my head around why you would want to drive this car. My later mentor in the car business, money on top of money in my head. If you ever ask him, he's like, no, he worked hard for what he got. Right. But he drove an old Tundra. And it wasn't that old, but it wasn't new. And just could not wrap my head around why would you want to drive this vehicle? But the both of them, experts in their field. Experts through and through. And you wouldn't look at them and know it at all. So I think that's a very good point. They learn how to manage money, and they can definitely teach you that.
Well, I think having gone broke taught me through that period, there's so many things that you don't need, that you don't need to fill your life, that you don't need to just spend money on. Mm-hmm. And then once you come out of that period, because it kind of happens suddenly, once you wrap your mind around it, there's so much money in America to be made. Once you wrap your mind around and make money, you just can't stop money from coming in. It's because people want to feel that energy. Mm-hmm. And so the amazing thing about it is once I got back up, the deals that were coming to me where I didn't need any money. Because people with money were like, yeah, no, I really don't need somebody with money. I need somebody that can complete this task.
Right.
And if you can complete this task, I'm going to make money. So I'd rather you be happy and keep your money, but take care of my business or take care of this opportunity so I can make money. You don't have to put anything in. Mm-hmm. I researched you. You seem like you can do this. So once I learned that, I stopped spending money. So when you look at your balance sheets, if you're not looking at a balance sheet every couple of weeks in your life, it's a problem. And you get to that point, and I think some of us use our statement on our phone for what we're debiting. And you start looking at how many coffees you bought, how many fast food you bought, how many this you bought. You spending $200-$300 by Thursday.
Yep.
And when you broke, you can't do that.
Nope.
Once we started making money, I should say, once I started making money again, and my habits changed, the amount of money that just would stack. I mean, I look on Friday and be like, wait a minute, where did $5,000 come from? You know, I don't have all these things. I don't have a car note. Insurance is really low. My son won't have loans and stuff. We'll pay his school, but then you get a scholarship through. Everything starts happening. You're not spending money. And now the game becomes, how much can I actually stack?
Right.
How much can I? So I was supposed to buy a truck. I had put $20,000 aside to buy a truck. And now I'm looking at it like, well, can I get 25?
Right.
All right, well, I got 25. Can we do 35?
Right.
I can get a nicer truck. Now you get the number. Now I'm like, well, I just get one for 16 and just put this over here. And then now that becomes my new zero.
Yep.
So the zero is no longer zero. The zero is $16,000 in this account.
Right. Yep.
And if it goes below that, they'll hear me fuss. Hey, y'all, I can't go to Brewster's. Why not? Well, my account is at $15,999. I need it to be at 16. So I'm going to go make me a couple sales. And when the account gets back to 16, I'll take everybody for ice cream. Now, if y'all want to treat me, fine.
Right.
But I can't take you on ice cream today until I'm back to 16.
Right. Now I'm with you. I had a bad habit of not looking at my money at all. I just spend it because I get paid every week. And I went from, I want to say when I was first working full time, my paycheck was the lowest, maybe 19, and the highest at that same job was maybe $24,000 a year. And I lived off of that and supported my son off of that. And then I started making 4 times that much, and I wasn't saving anything really. Because my spending habits were atrocious, just spending money on everything and anything because my bills were paid. And I was like, okay, the rest of it is just fun money. And that's not true. And I wouldn't look at my account. And finally, one day I took out pen and paper and just wrote down everything I had spent. And one column was needs and one column was, just wants. And I added up the wants column. Embarrassing.
Yeah.
Embarrassing. It makes you reset.
It makes you reset. I mean, some of the stuff, like, I think the dumb thing now, I like animals. I had spent almost $4,000 for a dog. When I think back on it, the damn dog probably cost me maybe $15,000 in deaths because she killed a bunch of goats and sheep, and I got everything I wanted. I want this big mean dog. Because I was young, but as I got older and moved out to this farm, so I was like, damn, I could have went to the pound and got a dog and not spent that money, but a dog that was better suited for the situation. So I started looking at money as a tool, like a ratchet set. So do I have the right tool for this job? That's the way I see it. It's a tool. Got to have the right tool for the right job to get the right outcome. And that's it. Not anything to be praised. It's just people. But I look at people who come here they don't speak the language. They weren't educated in our system. They weren't doing it, and they make money. It's just they understand those fundamental principles.
That reminds me of a conversation I had with my son the other day. He does digital rendering and he sells his work on Instagram and Twitter. He bought a graphics card for his computer. He's always getting mail, always getting like Amazon packages. I'm like, what's this? He says a graphics card. I'm like, how much was that? I tell him that he has to put half his money in the bank at least, and he can't touch it. It's not for buying graphics cards. It's for saving. So I said, how much was this graphics card? He said $200. I'm like, $200? I'm like, what's your ROI on that? One, because I wanted to know if he knew what an ROI was. And he said, no, I promise you, I'm going to make more than this cost me. I said, so you know what an ROI is? Yes, I do. And this is going to bring you back more than what you spent on it. He said, yes, Ma, it is. It's going to help me do better work. And you put half the money in the bank already. Yes, Ma, I did that. Okay. All right. So I'm trying to teach him not to have the habits that I had, because I spent all the money. Money was for spending when I had money. It wasn't for
I was
saving. It wasn't for investing, nothing.
yeah. And then I think I started, one day I got in the car and I listened to a lot of AM, and Dave Ramsey was on the radio. And I started listening to Dave Ramsey, and I ordered his book. This is 90s. And did very well, but I didn't maintain discipline. So we had gotten way up in savings and way up in stuff that we were acquiring.
Right.
Had rental property. We were going on vacations. I could help family if they called me. And I stopped that discipline. I stopped. And, you get to a point where you think it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
We had just had, no major calamities. Nothing had gone wrong. And instead of us preparing for or just building a war chest, we just start spending on dumb stuff. And you learn. And sometimes I think this might have been a dumb purchase, the farm. And then people started coming to me, making me offers on it. So at that point, I was like, oh, yeah, this was a very good purchase, because the return on it puts us in a whole different bracket.
Right. I want to talk to you about something. What?
Plus, we got a business out of it.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about your upbringing. So you grew up in New Jersey.
Yes.
So I'm a Northerner as well. I'm from New York. When you hear New Jersey, New York, you do not think farm. No. And I'm aware that your grandparents had a farm that wasn't too far from your home. But before we get to their farm, what was your neighborhood like?
So for Atlanta, my neighborhood would be considered the city. For New York, New Jersey, I lived in the suburbs.
I get it.
Like 15 minutes outside of Philly. My mother's from Camden, so I was 10 minutes outside of Camden. My dad is from a rural town called Glassboro, New Jersey. But all of my family on both sides are Southern, Virginia and Georgia. So the whole community that my grandmother, both grandmothers lived in, were Southern. I mean, you would think it was the South, except for the dialect. Everything the same. Everybody's from Georgia, South Carolina, or where's everybody? Georgia, South Carolina, or Virginia.
Right. Let me ask you this. So, so being from Queens, people from maybe Brooklyn or the Bronx would consider Queens the burbs. They would say it's a more soft neighborhood because we had, grass. And if you looked at the grass,
I grew up in Jamaica Estates.
Okay.
The city where I grew up, Jamaica Estates.
So did that look like Camden?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It looked like Queens.
It looked like Queens.
Yeah. Or, gotcha. Go out like Far Rockaway or somewhere where everybody had a yard.
Just to paint the picture for people who aren't from the North. So when we say it's the burbs for us. It's a very thin strip of grass. It's maybe 4 by 2 piece of grass. And your yard is the driveway. It's not full with grass. Right. It's the driveway. And then what you would call the city has more buildings, apartments, things like that. So that's what we talk about when we're talking about from the burbs. But okay, so I got the picture. You're from Jersey, in the city. It really is the city now that we've left. We know that. Right. But the burbs is the city. And then your grandparents are how far away from you with this farm?
15 minutes the other way.
Okay.
So interesting thing about my childhood, my family being in Camden, and my other family being in Glassboro, 8 o'clock in the morning, I could be cutting grass at my house, cutting my little strip. I could be in Camden by 10 working with my dad because he's an electrician, so we did electrical work. So when I'm in Camden from the 80s through 91, before I went to college, I saw everything that you hear about that could go on in the crack cocaine open air drug market. And then at the end of the night, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, from pretty much my high school girlfriend from 9th grade all the way through, she lived close to my grandparents.
Okay.
So I'd end up at her house. So I literally had gone from the suburbs to the the poorest city in the nation, one of the most violent cities in the nation, walking around, hanging out, got cousins there, got my hair cut there, left there, went straight to my grandparents' house to their farm. Mm-hmm. So I had the best of everything America had to offer in my childhood. I mean, I literally saw it all.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I know the answer to this question, but I just want you to answer it for the viewers. Was your farm given to you, or did a family member give you this huge lump of money to start it?
No, man. We purchased this bad boy.
All by yourself?
All by ourselves. Like I said, it was a crazy period where I was telling everybody, my wife is behind me or in front of me, so she'd probably get a kick out of this. I was like, no, we're not spending any money. I think it was a whole year. I was like, no, we're not spending any money. Don't eat out, eat ramen noodles, hot dogs, peanut butter, jelly sandwiches, everything. And then the market crashed. And I had previously tried, I lost 25 grand. Well, my group lost 25 grand on another deal in 2007. When the economy was having, before everybody knew what was going on, the money people knew what was going on in 2007. Yeah. So the deal we had to buy the farm in Conyers fell through.
The same farm,
we lost our
or a different farm?
No, a different farm. Okay. Different deal. I was going to build a subdivision.
Oh, okay.
So we had everything done, all the plans done. We had the soil compression test done, and 2008 started creeping in. So my buddies all backed out, but I ain't mad at them. I was mad at them at the time, but I was like, no, you just got to be able to see beyond the clouds, y'all. Just hold on to it. We'll do something with the land. And they believe me now because of what the return we're doing with this farm. So 2008 hits. I had been getting sent away. I think I was going on Sandy, if I'm not mistaken, for insurance. And we had some money. And I told my wife, I said, my buddy called me, the other guy that was in it. He was like, I found your dumb farm. It's down here by my house in McDonough. Come see it. And I actually drove down there and was like, oh, looked at the place and was like, yeah, we should buy it. And I asked how long it was on the market. And they said a year. And once that, sometimes you have to be savage in business deals. And once I heard that the property had been on the market for a year, the owners were aging out and their kids didn't want it, I was like, oh, okay, I get to hard nose this. I'm gonna get this for as low as I can get it. And from my research told me that they owned it outright, probably bought it for like $15,000 in the 60s. We paid just over 200 grand for this thing.
For 30 acres.
On Jonesboro Road in Hampton. I still don't believe they sold the thing to us.
With a house on it?
And I asked them, yeah. Houses, you could have moved into the house. They had just done the AC over, had put a new roof on it.
Crazy.
But the deal with my wife was she wasn't moving into it. We were going back and forth on this for a while. Some of the counseling sessions happened about this house. So she's not looking at me, but I can tell she hears. Her shoulders stiffened up a little bit. So we got it, and what it did, I agreed. I said, look, we're gonna put this money aside. You can gut the whole house. But by the time we should be ready to paint the outside of this house, we should be either making moves, us moving, or we should be selling. The market should have come up so much that we use this money that we'll get from this sale, the windfall, to buy another place and we have another home and to have no house note. So that is the goal for us, is to have no house note.
Right.
And still have a farm. So that looks very possible. We just need all the dots to connect. Yeah. But we bought it. We paid out of pocket.
So what lets a little Camden, New Jersey boy, know that he's capable of even buying a subdivision, because that's what you wanted to do at the time, and then owning a farm that's going to pay your bills? What let you know that you could do that in the first place?
Well, first we got to make sure we give credit where credit is due. I'm from Woodbury. I'm from the suburbs.
Woodbury. Sorry.
Camden. Yeah. Camden is its own. I have first cousins from Camden, but I don't want nobody to think that I had to endure what any of them had to endure. I grew up like a Cosby kid.
Okay, so, gotcha.
in my household, there were no limits. I watched my dad do all this stuff. I watched my dad so I'm back to Camden again, but my dad bought 6 row houses in Camden, and me and him and a couple of cousins rehabbed them. And I'm talking about from 12 till I got through college. That's what I did for my summer job, was that business, along with his electrical contracting business, along with running a warehouse for my coach's pool company. What else did I do in high school? And I was like in SGA and played football. So yeah, we always hustle. We always grind, and we always find an opportunity. So we're not afraid of our people. So if there's an issue in the city, we're going to find a way to benefit from it. There's no need in letting other people gentrify. The gentrification is coming. We need to make money off of that too.
Right.
So my pop, that's how I went to college. And one of the things when people say, how do you know impossible was possible? This man drove me, when we flew to Georgia, because he told me, he said, don't worry about football. I want you to go to a black college. I was like, okay. I was like, but I want to play football. He said, all right, well, look, let's go to this black college and let's see what you say afterwards.
Right.
And we come down here, and I had my transcripts and everything, and I had already been accepted. And the registrar was like, here, fill this out for your loans and everything. And my dad was like, yeah, no, we're not doing loans. He needs 4 years of school. We need a number that everybody can agree on. We're going to pay y'all that every month. And we sat there. He negotiated. I never forget the number. They agreed. They printed up the paperwork. He signed it. He turns to me and says, you got 4 years, boy, get it done. That's a true story.
Wow.
And the only time he ever said anything to me about school, I got a D. And instead of him calling me, this is, I'm 47. So you should get bills back then in triplicate, like the carbon copy, where they had like the white copy, the yellow copy, the pink copy. Well, him and my mom sent me the bill for that month, and they just sent me the little pink copy. Put it in he didn't wrap it in paper or they just mailed it to me. And I had an apartment, and it came to my apartment. I got it, I opened it up, and I looked at it and was like, damn, okay. Message received. I got it. I think I was pledging that semester or something was going on. I was pledging that semester. But it wasn't like a core course. It was something dumb. But right. I never went to the class. So, but that message was, hey. And then another situation happened that let me know how, I didn't understand it in the moment, but the entire family was invested in me going to college. So my nickname is Chip. My brother, my sister, everybody was taking shorts to make sure I went to school and stayed in school and was comfortable. And it became clear to me, somebody broke into our house and stole the cash that my dad was going to wire to the school for the money, for my monthly fee. And the story got back to me later, a couple years later, that my little brother, 6 years younger than me, walking the neighborhood looking for this guy in the 6th or 7th grade, finds him, beats him up, and then doesn't get all the money back, but that's what he did.
Shout out to the little brother.
Yeah, shout out to the little brother.
That's what's up. So I love that your family was like so behind you, and like you, I was able to look at my family and tell myself that I didn't have any limits. My mom and my father were not together, but I watched my mom take care of me, my sister, and my older cousin, which I look at as a brother. And any household things that broke, she would fix it with her hands. I was there when she bought her first home. My dad, I watched him have more than one job when it was necessary to have more than one job to make sure that things were paid for. If times fell hard on him, he worked himself out of that. And I remember looking at them as a child and saying, if they can do that, there's no reason I can't do that. And I put the job on myself to beat them at where they were in their life by that age. They never pressured me and said, you have to do
I
better
did that
than
too.
me. Right. They never said that I
I
had to
did
do
that
better than
exact
them,
same.
but I made that my job to do better than them, not to say I beat you, look at me, but that's why you did all that, so I can do better than you. But my question for you is, what if there are, little Waynes and little Keishas out there in the world that don't have those things to look at? What would you tell them to do in order to motivate themselves?
The beauty of this generation is technology.
Mm-hmm.
Get online, search YouTube, search stories on Instagram, search just Google. Your story is there online for you to grab. I was a YouTube farmer. A lot of the stuff I learned on YouTube. And then I made relationships with those people and calling them. But yeah, it's there for you. Just don't take no. Be prepared to have something to offer. So I get that phone call 2-3 times a day. Hey, I'm interested in farming. I want you to show me.
Right.
And I'm like, well, all right, well, what are you bringing to the table? At this point, I can't just mentor you just to mentor you. I'm beyond that. Mm-hmm. But you have to bring something to the table. But yes, children, young people, old people looking to get into a different career, get online. You will find like souls, you have kindred spirits, you'll find them. And you can make money doing it.
Yes. Dope. Wayne, so what is next for you and your family and the business?
A processing plant.
Ooh.
I think that with everything going on, just looking at if we're doing some forecasting, mm-hmm. Now that everybody is buying land and everyone is going to be growing vegetables and everyone's going to have a pig, a sheep, and some cows, the demand is going to go way down mm-hmm. for boutique meat because everybody's going to be doing it. They may not do it the way I did it, but there's still going to be a need to process that meat. So I'm going to hold on to some cows, but then go into the processing piece of it so that these farmers will have an outlet for their product. So they at least get it processed and go from there, but USDA process. So that's the next move.
Awesome.
That's the next move.
Awesome. So where can people find you if they're interested in getting some meat? Wholesale, because that's how you sell, right?
Yep. Right now we only sell halves, quarters, wholes because of the demand and because with COVID, the processors are they're all about a month, maybe a month and a half behind. Mm-hmm. Like these cows I'm taking today, I probably won't see them till October. Mm. Yeah, not probably. I won't see them till October sometime.
Yeah. So where can they find you?
Instagram, Swanson Family Farm. YouTube, Swanson Family Farm. Google, Swanson Family Farm. Facebook, Swanson Family Farm. You just Google your boy, I'll pop up.
And the website is swansonfamilyfarm.com?
swansonfamilyfarmllc.com.
Perfect. And my last question, Mrs. Swanson, is there a quote that you live by?
Man, there's so many. One I love, I posted it today, was pick a side. You have to pick a side. What I usually tell my son, there's so many things. I know he gets tired of me.
Oops,
excellence is a habit. Yeah, I live by that. And that's just follow through. Get those steps in, muscle memory. Excellence is a habit.
That's powerful and so true. So true. I know that, once this episode is out, that it's going to touch somebody and somebody's going to gain some jewels from it. But I know I did, for sure. And yeah, for sure. And some of the things that you said, I already knew and I already practiced, but it's confirmation. And it's just like God telling me again, like, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. And I definitely gained a lot from what you said. You're seasoned. and that's no pun intended for the meat that you sell, but you are a well-seasoned in your craft, and you've learned that through habits and through early rising, that you can be more fruitful and more productive. And I love hearing that and watching you work, for sure.
Well, let me be honest. I can help other people because I made a lot of mistakes. Mm-hmm. A lot of it. It sounds great to say I'm seasoned, but I messed up a lot of stuff. I just am so stubborn. I kept going.
Yeah.
So now I can help other people while I'm helping myself. So yeah.
Do you think the mistakes are necessary?
Absolutely. You won't grow if you're not falling down. It's kind of like a baby with their elbows and hands and knees. They won't get that thick skin literally until they fall down 100 times. And then it doesn't bother them. The fall doesn't bother me anymore. Like I know I could, my wife would joke, she'd be like, you could live out in the barn. And I'm like, yeah, I can live out in the barn. As long as y'all are fine, I can live out in the barn. This isn't about, at this stage, once you start getting near 50, it's not about me anymore. I'm thinking about, well, I don't want my son to have a house note. Mm-hmm. So I want my house, any house I live in is paid off. And I tell him this all the time. If I die and you play your cards right, me and your mom die in a car accident, one, you are instantly rich because the insurance is if you decide to sell everything. But then these are people you need to talk to money-wise because you're going to come into a lot of money. Yeah. So I try my best. It's not about me anymore. Yeah. It's about the next generation. I don't say that in a cliche manner. I say that, and we're going to go without or with a little, still live, still have fun, but we're not spending the inheritance of the next generation.
That's right.
Just so we can ball and look good on the gram.
That's right. That's right. That's very important. And I like that you were talking about you can live in the barn. It reminds me of, hitting a rock bottom spot. And what's dope about hitting rock bottom is that nothing else can beat you after that.
Nothing bothers you.
No. Nothing. Once you come out of that, nothing can beat you up anymore.
Yeah. Then what bothers you at that point, you really want to get under my skin, let me see you doing something I know you have the ability to excel at. Half doing it.
Yep.
That drives me insane.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep. Well, I know that you have a busy day ahead of you. We didn't get to touch on your work in the community. We touched on it a little bit. But if you follow Wayne on YouTube and you just Google him, you'll see his active work in the community. You do career days all around Henry County. You speak to boys. You give food in food deserts. And I really wanted to talk about that, the food deserts, because certain food is not allowed, or not allowed, but they just don't have it in certain communities. And if you don't expose them to it, they'll never know. They'll never eat it.
I got some time. So
sure.
That's important.
Yes. So talk to the community, to the people about a food desert. What is it?
So a food desert is, think more of a nutritionally imbalanced community. Mm-hmm. So they're pumping you full of sugar, full of salt, and full of high corn fruit syrup. What do you call it? High fructose. Mm-hmm. So they're not giving you fresh vegetables. They're not giving you fresh, clean meat. They're not giving you fresh, clean fish. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is economics. It's not that you won't eat or won't buy it. I personally think that they want certain people to have certain issues, one, so they can cure them. But two, if you are my grandmother used to say, clothed in your right mind, you're not going to make some of the decisions you might make in some of those neighborhoods if all you're eating is Cheetos. I'm not going to say a brand. If all you're eating is bagged chips, soda, beer, smoking, you're going to make some horrible decisions. Have you ever seen anybody run out and rob somebody after having a 3-quart meal? Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen. Right. When your belly is full, you can think. And America, you can make money if you can think clearly. This whole system is set up so that certain people work for others, I need you not to be thinking clearly. I need you to constantly be in pain because I need you to medicate that pain so that I can now use you and your labor to benefit myself. So yeah, that's why they pump that sugar in there.
Man.
They want you to have that toothache.
Listen.
They want you to have that abscess in your tooth. They want you to not be able to see because the glaucoma, or see because your diabetes is so bad. Yeah, they want that. So when you find people in any urban situation where their mama still cooks, the kids are good. Because they're not eating that garbage.
Yep. You ever seen a quarter water?
Yeah.
You ever seen one in our neighborhood?
Nope.
Not once.
If the sugar, man, once it hits you, and you literally can go to the grocery store, and I used to use this example. I would tell people I could smell the grocery store in some neighborhoods. You walk through and you can smell it, and it could be the same chain, but you go a couple miles over to the other neighborhood, the whole smell when you walk in the door is different.
Yep.
And you have to demand it. I don't care what people say. When you go in those grocery stores, you be like, no, I want the fresh stuff. You got fresh stuff in the back?
Yeah.
Send me that.
Yeah.
But it's important to take control of the food. So everybody, if we talked about this off camera, everybody that I knew growing up had a garden. I'm gonna step back and just say it this way. Everyone today that I would call for financial advice as an adult, like that is in their 70s, or that I would call for a loan or for a recommendation, had a garden when I was a child. So the amount of money you save when you have a garden, it allows you to do things, extra investments. But again, we just talked about your thought process is clear because your brain is clear. You're eating, the fuel you're putting in your brain is allowing you to think clear. So you're not spending like crazy because you can think clear. You're not making mistakes like people. You're like, wow, why did he do that? What? He was a good kid. Why would he rob? Because he was jonesing probably for nicotine, sugar. I'm not even gonna say he was on a real hard drug. Sugar's a drug. I fight with it. But all those people who had gardens are what the average citizen now would say is rich. And one of those people, the best advice they gave me and my son, they showed up to a funeral in a brand new white on white Bentley. And I'd always seen him drive an old Cadillac, never seen him drive the Bentley before. And all the kids got around and he said, yeah, everybody listen. He said, I bought this one because I could afford three. And he walked off. And it hit me. I was like, now I'm grown. My son might have been 10 or 11 at the time. And he's just getting into sneakers. So we implemented it at the house. We're like, all right, man, so if you can afford 3 of these sneaks, go buy whatever one you want.
Yep.
And then he started selling sneaks. So it just, when you're in those environments, it's perpetual.
Yeah.
Now, if I sat down and was like, oh, I'm broke, let me call to get on the welfare, or let me get on, not saying that that's not a system that you shouldn't use, use it.
Right.
But I could not, the way I'm built, if I got any type of pacifier, I don't know if I would have stayed the course. I needed that feeling when I come in and my wife looking at me like, yeah, bro, I ain't signed up for this. You need to fix this. I needed that. I didn't need any injection of cash because she might not have looked at me that way if the Band-Aid was covering everything.
Right.
So I needed that.
Yeah.
So, I'm always around people that make money.
Yeah. I think that could be a whole episode in itself, talking about food and where certain food is and where certain food isn't. Because it was an eye opener for me leaving Jamaica, Queens, and going elsewhere. It was an eye opener. I was like, this is available and XYZ lasts this long. It's old in the supermarket I went to. And I see it out here when I go to certain counties and I go to their farmers markets or supermarkets. I'm like, what is this that they're pumping into the community? That could be a whole episode in itself. But I am glad that you contribute to food deserts where people don't have this kind of food available. It's very important.
And one of the things which I'm not doing a great job of, I don't like talking about it.
No,
so
really.
If somebody calls me, these couple of pastors may call me, but hey, look, man, we got 10 families. Fine. Mm-hmm. Don't take a picture. Mm-hmm. Don't, put my name in that, because these people are in their absolute worst situation right now.
Yes.
So I'm not about to take a picture like, look at me. I'm helping you and bragging that I'm better than you right now.
Yes.
I cannot stand that. But because I have cows and big animals, I'm always going to have something that I can give.
Yes.
But I don't want, like, if we were doing, I think we were paying school lunches down. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, don't tell nobody I'm doing this, because what if one of them, they see me at the store. Right. Some people may want to come up and say hello, mm-hmm. but maybe the husband was feeling, he was in a bad spot that month.
Yeah.
And I would have helped the brother if he asked me, but let him have his dignity. We don't need, everything don't need to be broadcast. I had to stop a sister. She posted a picture of a lady taking a bath in a bucket in a parking lot near a fountain, and was like, Black people, we need to do better. And I was like, why would you take a picture of somebody and post it on the internet and you think Black people need to do better? No, you need to do better.
Right. Agreed. Because you don't know, that could have been her first bath of the week. She could have been happy for that, Right. But you do have to be careful when you do kind things for people when you take a picture, or if you take a picture at all. If you're having a gathering, cool. Everybody's out, a mix of people. But if it is just targeted toward somebody that is having a down moment in life, you don't use that for a photo op, because they will be embarrassed and they may not want to take the help the next time when they really need it. So you do have to be very cognizant of the times that you're taking photos and you're not taking photos.
Well, my wife and I have, and some of this, I'm older now, so some of it now, I don't know if I would still do it. I haven't been in a situation in a while, mm-hmm. but we've kind of come up on domestic abuse situations. Mm-hmm. And I've taken ladies and their kids, put them in the car, and been like, no, I'm not taking you back there, but I'll take you up here and get you a hotel.
Right.
You can get your mind clear, long as if you're in a spot where you're not going to tell him where you're at for right now, mm-hmm. I'm going to pay for this hotel for a day or two for you. Mm-hmm. Or is there a place that either me or my wife can take you where you'll be safe?
Right.
We've done that, but I don't do that or say that because I'm trying. I'm saying that because I know people in my family who've been in domestic situations and they didn't have a cousin like me or my mm-hmm. cousins to, handle the situation, if you will. Right. They don't. They maybe have moved here from somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So I immediately think about my girl cousins or my sister or anybody else that was in a situation, and I'm in the Uncle Chip mode. Like, all right, now you got to do this around these babies. Mm-hmm. And I, for the most part, most guys respond because you don't come at them ultra loud or sideways. Okay. You're like, yo, man, you probably need a couple minutes to chill, bro. Just nothing have to get physical, but we're gonna make sure your people's straight.
Yeah.
Just go chill somewhere and figure out what you do.
Yeah. I think there's a way you can go about promoting good. Obviously, taking the photo with a battered woman. Taking a photo with the battered woman and saying, taking her to a hotel tonight is not the way to go about it. Candid conversations like this one.
I don't even like people doing those drive-up. Yeah. I don't even like people doing those drive-up food giveaways.
Right. It can be embarrassing.
But not only that, we are so coddled in America, right? Mm-hmm. That even if you have if you have food in your refrigerator and in your freezer, mm-hmm. you have no business driving out into them lines getting food that should be going to people who have nothing in their refrigerator or freezer.
Right.
I don't think people understand that. Just because it's a good deal or because they're not asking any questions, at some point, your inner spirit has to tell you, I'm great.
Yes.
I got Chef Boyardee in the cabinet. I got noodles that we can boil up and put some ketchup. If you have something.
Yeah.
There are people who have nothing.
Nothing. That's true.
And they can be living in a neighborhood like ours, but they still don't have anything.
Oh yeah.
And you need to back up. Let the people get the service that need the service. You need it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You see people going through the line with Mercedes and Land Cruisers, and you're like, come on, bruh. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Some chicken?
Yeah. I was at an event recently, giving away toiletries, and because I'm in the car business, I know makes and models and years. I can look and see and probably just guess how many miles on the vehicle. For the most part, there's an industry average. And yeah, I see luxury vehicles when I give things away. But I know what year that vehicle is. I also know mismanagement of money because I did it, right? So sometimes you will see a high-end vehicle come through the line to receive something, but because of my background, I know that just because you're pushing this 5 Series BMW does not mean you're not hungry. You got you an...
Well,
go ahead.
I look at everything has a tail, right?
Yes.
So when I see those, if I see the bald tires or the taped up mirror, then I understand. But when you come sparkly, shiny, and you in line getting food,
there are those too.
For somebody who, and I just see that we should do we should make food and take it down to Pine Street to the shelter. And I would tell the guys, hey, look, man, we're going to do this. Just no pictures. We don't even, it was a church group. So I was like, if they ask you for prayer, fine. What we're trying to do is put something hot in these guys' bellies so they can think.
Yeah.
So they can make some decisions.
Yeah.
So that they don't have to decide just for one night. I might either have to put my hand in a trash can or I might have to snatch your purse to eat.
Yeah.
One night, that's all we want them to do, something hot and warm. And, a couple guys would be like, nah, I'm led to pray. No, you wasn't. That's your ego. Because God wanted to say something. He got a loudspeaker. He could have just said, yeah, everybody praying.
Yeah.
No.
And it says in the Bible that you should never let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. It's basically saying that you should not do things like that for publicity. You should do it from your heart, do it for kindness, do it for God, ultimately. I think certain conversations like this, for me, like, I didn't know that you could do good for others in certain ways. I didn't know that you could pay lunch for somebody that was behind you in the drive-through line until I heard about it. And so hearing about it sometimes can be a good thing that now like, oh, well, I can do that too. That's not a hard thing. But then exploiting people, that's when it becomes not so much of a good thing. You're putting this person on blast just so you could look good.
Yeah. It boggles my mind how people don't see that. I mean, if you want to do some good, do some good. I can't tell you the number of people in Henry County who have reached out to me, not knowing I was in the situation I was in, and were like, hey, how about we, want to help me with this? And that led me to other deals, even the restaurant. And people never, ever said, yeah, we gave Swanson Family Farms a shot at the restaurant.
Right.
They never mentioned it.
Right.
Because they have it to give. They're not giving to make a name for themselves. They had an opportunity. They thought I could make good on the opportunity, and we joined the comment, but they never said anything.
Right.
Ever. So that kind of convicted me.
Isn't it dope when, like, all the hearts are in a good place?
Yeah. Yeah. And even when it doesn't work out, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to go this way, you go that way. And it wasn't anything personal. It was business.
Yeah.
And we still cool.
Yeah.
So I got to go. I got a 2-hour drive. So I know we got to do an ending.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on. More than that, I appreciate everything that you're doing in your family and in the community. I really appreciate who you are as a person. I'm excited to keep following your journey as well.
Thank you. And I'm going to give a big shout out to my wife. Yeah. She's standing behind the camera holding the sign saying, you're rambling. Tell me to rant.
Thank you, Mrs. Swanson.
She's laughing.
You have a good one, and we will definitely talk soon. Thank you, Wayne.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, you have to start hanging out with different people. You have to find your space, find your network, find your group. There's a group out there for anything anyone wants to do to motivate you. Lord knows Facebook has a group for everything, and even beyond that space. Find a group. There are people out there that want to see you do well, and you might not know them. They might not be your friends and family, but look for your support system because you deserve it. And sometimes people discourage you, not because they don't want to see you do well, is that they don't believe in themselves, so they can't believe in you, right? Or they're just afraid for you and they're not used to anybody succeeding. So they want to prepare you for the failure that they expect. And that might not be your path. So go out there and find people who understand your vision and maybe even understand what you want to do. Because sometimes you talk to people about concepts that they can't think of. So they don't understand how something like that is possible. So go find people that understand that space and talk to them and build with them and grow with them.